Time has come once again to speak as co-creators in Magic Do. I'm Daniel Dubois.
I'm Michaela Gaffinstone.
We
We're
finish
your
it?
hosts
Yeah.
as you journey into the heart of the primordial.
Welcome to season 7, episode 9. We're really doing this. We're really, really, really doing this.
Yeah,
That's what I
this
got.
is the month. This is where we change from the year of the snake to the year of the fire horse.
Right.
And I cannot emphasize enough how significant that change is. For anybody listening that has not particularly come across the year of the fire horse, or they've heard it, but you know, big deal, so what?
Mm-hmm.
You get one of these every 60 years. And the last time this year of the fire horse was happening, in Japan, for example, the birth rate dropped 25% for the year because nobody wanted to have a fire horse baby, particularly not female, because females born in this year are going to tear shit down. They are going to break the old paradigms, the
Right.
old stories. They're going to do exactly actually what we're doing. But next level stuff. That's what they're born to do. That's what they're here for. So this is the year where whatever illusions you have about yourself, whatever stories you've got about yourself, those, your ego, basically your sense of self, who and what you think you are, all of that disappears in the year of the fire horse. It will be ripped off, melted away, removed, otherwise discarded. You will not hang on to illusions about yourself this year. That is not happening for anybody. And so some of us are going to be learning an awful lot of stuff that we'd rather not know, or maybe exactly opposite to how you have envisaged yourself or your role in things.
Mm.
And, so buckle up, buttercup, because it's coming whether you're ready or not. And this is your opportunity as things get torn away, as the facades and the illusions disappear. Are you ready? Are you ready to stand up and say, well, okay, let's get this done. Let's do the things we came to do. You can try and hide, but it's not going to work.
That's true.
It's very, very true. So, opting out is not an option. Making like, I think
Yeah.
I'll just hide in the corner over here and things will miss me. No, no, they really won't. In the year of the fire horse, you need to be ready. There's a lot of stuff that's going to come crashing down really soon. And it's your opportunity to, I'm not going to say rebuild because that implies build the same thing. It's
Mm.
your opportunity to build again, build
Right.
anew. And that's what we're going to be doing this year. So, welcome to the year of the fire horse.
Yeah. All right. So, because I did a few spells with her this week, Babylon is asking me to mention something. So, our more alert listeners may have noticed that there's a certain amount of extra flow going to Michaela this season. And it's kind of a sign or a no sign, I guess, because I'm not getting anything else beyond that of things to come forward. In that, again, the rise of the divine feminine.
For the listener, I'd like to add that this has not been a plan, and it's certainly not something that I've said, "Hey, I
No,
want more airtime" or anything like that. Because, you know, when stuff's downloading, I talk anyway. Daniel's very good about that.
right. The thing is, like, I know for me, it's very palpable that it's shifted to Michaela.
Okay. Well, there's a lot going on, and there's certainly a lot happening my end as well. I mean, I was
Yes.
telling Danielle before we started recording about the summit that I'm putting together. And it's something you'll see advertised around, on social media and what have you. So I don't need to go into it too much here, other than to say this is starting a path of bringing powerful women together who are offering different perspectives, if you will, different opportunities to decide how you're going to do things in real terms. How are you going to change things? And some of them are things that you wouldn't have thought of. That's the whole point. And there's going to be more summits and more podcasts coming along with that. And as that power builds with me, that's what's coming forward here as well.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm noticing something that it didn't dawn on me before, but when we started this season, my ring light gave out. So
It
I'm kind of
did,
sitting more
yeah.
in shadow. Yeah, so I'm sitting a little bit more in shadow these days.
Huh.
It's
I hadn't
fun.
thought of that.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, because, I'll put it this way, like, I don't know if that makes it more dramatic than it needs to be, because I'm getting more a lot of behind the scenes work to do, like just in my magical practice on its own. Like, so Mikhail is becoming the face of things to come forward while I'm doing the deep, or while I'm doing the behind the scenes work.
Hmm. Yeah, that seems that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yes, my visibility is definitely increasing. I mean, I'm in two summits in February that are not mine, and then I'm recording 12 episodes for the summit that is mine in March. Already got somebody ready to go, I believe, for the next one in June. So there's a lot of visibility happening, and it's a take no prisoners kind of visibility. It's
Yeah.
I'm not doing things the way other people do them, and I'm not following the rules. That's you can absolutely guarantee I am not following the rules. I'm writing them um, as loosely as possible for the containers I'm creating. But what I'm asking for from the people that are there is not much. I'm not giving a whole load of do's and don'ts and rules and stuff because you know how I feel about those for one
Mm,
thing, but also it's not necessary. In this time, it is not necessary. Rules are one of the things that are going to get absolutely shattered. I mean, I have this
right.
image of dust, the solid glass going to dust, not even broken shards, dust. It's those rules that we've been living by, absolute twaddle. Like, just no. And I'm really curious if the listener would care to message and let us know.
Mm.
I would love to know if you're seeing religion differently at this point. Are you
Uh,
getting the idea that religion is purely a very old mechanism for control and it has zero to do with a practice or a faith or any connection to spirit at all for the vast majority of people? And for those churches in particular, but all religion really, prey on the vulnerable. And I'll leave
yes.
that exactly where that went. They prey on the vulnerable and manipulate those people into doing what they want to see. And it's very much control. And if you look in the US today, this day and age, this February, January also, look at the number of pastors who are involved in extremely shady, nasty things. It's not a coincidence. It's part of what they're doing. It's the system they're in. It's the whole patriarchal
Mm,
thing of let's subdue everybody, including other men, right? And yeah, this is where you're going to see this. If you're not seeing it now, you will be very, very soon. But I think a lot of people are seeing it now. It's so obvious. It's just wow, there's a spotlight on it. You can't miss it. But religion isn't there for you. It's there to use you.
Yeah. It's a good example of, I'm trying to think here. I don't want people in this position to think I'm like talking down to them, but it's a good example of how to cultivate a bunch of useful idiots, to use the term.
Well, yeah. Yeah. You get vulnerable people and you tell them that you're going to look after them and you tell them that you've got the answers and you say it in a convincing way and they'll follow you anywhere. I
Hmm.
actually heard a recording of a pastor of a mega church. I heard it just yesterday where he's saying, men, the way you get married, the way you get yourself a spouse is to get them really young and they
Mm,
will come with you because they don't know any better. Well,
yeah.
pardon me, but fuck, if that's the level you're at, no wonder there's a male loneliness epidemic. Because if that's what you have
Mm,
to do, is go for a spot of pedophilia in
mm,
order to get yourself a spouse, because I quote, she doesn't know any better. Wow. That is an appalling thing to anticipate. And plus, what are you saying to the men? Like,
yeah.
this is your level? This is it? You peaked already? Like that is so rude to everybody. I can't even, right? But it's this head of a mega church saying it. This is what he's advocating for the people following him to do is go get yourself a young girl and make sure she comes with you.
Mm.
Wow.
Well,
That's that's not love like the month of February is supposed to be about, right?
no, but let's go even deeper than this because there's actually a study about this in animals.
Oh, go
When a
for it.
male goes for a younger female, especially one that hasn't hit their full maturity yet, that's actually a sign of low status in that male because they can't get a fully actualized female. So they have to go with them. They have to go for younger for that very reason of they're more compliant, so it's easier to do it. But that's
Exactly.
but it's because they can't get a fully realized female, a full adult female. They're incapable of winning that. So their status is low. So what, to kind of continue on is that what this whole push is giving is like it's literally telling these men you're low. I don't like using this term, but since it's in the popular consciousness, you're a low value man if you follow this advice. They're literally
Yeah.
telling you you're a low value man. They're not even like they're like telling you right to your face. This is how much you suck, and this is what you need to do because you
Yes.
suck so much.
Yes. I mean, it is so rude on every level.
Right.
First of all, it's advocating for pedophilia. And frankly, I'm so heartily sick of how widespread it is
Mm,
in the US. And I don't think it's just the US, but I'm so sick of that. But it's advocating for that as a means of control, right?
yeah.
Get her young and, she won't know any better. Oh my goddess. Is that the level we're at? Like that says so many bad things about the men. And it's like this female is brainless and basically there for breeding and doing your bidding. Wow. That's, the medieval times, maybe even earlier. You may have had that, but we
Well,
really shouldn't be doing that now. And I don't think it ever went away. I think we're just seeing it now.
right? But what it is essentially, I have no better way of choosing this wording, but it's subhuman, and like animals don't even do this unless they recognize they can't get their choice mate. Like they can't get the choice breeding mates. So then they go for younger. Like even in the animal kingdom, it's a sign of low status. So if you're a human being, a Homo sapien, a therefore thinking man, and you're accepting this, maybe you're not as thinking as you are because animals recognize it better than you do.
Right. And the key to what I'm pointing out here too is exactly what you just
Yeah.
said. Plus, look where it's coming from. These are religious leaders.
Mm.
preying on their vulnerable flock, right? This is what you do. This is how you do it. Now, at a certain point, people are so invested in this particular lifestyle because they believed it. And now it's like, well, if I don't stay here, if I don't follow these rules, then where am I? What do I do if I leave? How many people who leave cults then have a massive problem, not only because
Mm.
they're ostracized, that is a big deal,
Right.
but what do you replace it with? You had so much of your life organized and spoken for and dictated to you that now you actually have free will. Now you actually have choice. You don't have the skill set to use it.
Yeah.
And that is intentional on the part of the churches, the various religions, the cults. They're all in the same bucket as far as I'm concerned. There isn't one that stands head and shoulders above the others because they all use manipulation to keep you where they want you. And meanwhile, you keep feeding their coffers. I mean, some of the mega churches in the US, they
Mm.
are absolutely nothing short of obscene. It is gross, the stuff they're doing. I mean, Catholics are famous for having, gold palaces and God
Yeah.
knows what for their churches and their cathedrals. But these guys, okay, I'm going to go to my English background here
Right.
and come out with a little snobbery going
Mm.
on. But this is new money versus old money, right?
Yeah.
This is the Catholics would be the old money where you have some class with what they're doing.
Mm.
There's some devotion in there. There's genuine artwork. There's beauty. And the beauty had a purpose, even if it was misguided. Whereas the mega churches, they are just grossly flashy, trashy, big banners and neon signs, kind of it new money and way too much new money. You can see looking at them that these are not there for you. They're there to use you. You can see it.
So it's a new crowd that doesn't understand the concept of noblesse oblige.
Exactly.
You're
Yes.
wealthy. Yeah. Well, and it's actually a good point, right? Because that expression, noblesse oblige, so your nobility obligates you, is
Yep.
that like so now we have a problem, right, with charities where you have people getting paid like upwards into the multiple six figures to run charities when charity work was done for free because it was
The
done
irony,
by wealthy people.
the irony
Yeah.
of a person who's running a charity being paid obscene amounts of money while they beg you for yours is not lost on me. Never has been. I learned about that when I was in Bangladesh and I saw some of those charities in action. And I swore I'd never give to a big charity again. If I'm going to give, it'll be to a local homeless
Right.
shelter or a food bank or something. I'm not going to give it to, Save the Children or whatever, because I've seen those guys in action and they're full of shit. They lie. They lie to you all the time. It's another manipulation, right? Where they're going to tell you, oh, you're saving this child for the cost of a cup of coffee a
Right.
day, etc., etc. It is a lie. It is an absolute lie. I lived in Bangladesh for 3 years and worked in an orphanage. I volunteered in that orphanage, and I saw firsthand what happens to the donation money that comes in and the, the letters from the kids, etc.
Right.
I won't go into it into too much detail other than to say that what you think you're doing, you're not doing at all. You're paying for somebody's swimming pool and it's not the kids.
Well, that was the
That's
thing,
what's
right?
happening.
Remember the famine in Ethiopia that ran for quite some
Yep.
time, and I remember the ads, and I remember because I started when those ads started off, I was a little kid, and then I started get into my adolescence, and then I was like, so these guys, just their appearance fee alone for this commercial, if I'm to believe what they're saying in the commercial, could feed this village for like X number of years, right?
Right.
So instead of
Mhm.
waiving the fee, take that fee, donate the fee, like take that fee, put it towards the village.
Right. Yeah. But this is another one of those things that we buy the illusion because it's comfortable.
Right.
It's nice to think, oh, look, I'm helping these starving children in Africa that won't take my peas. They're helping this village. I'm doing this thing. It's lovely to feel that way, but it's an illusion. You're not doing what you think you're doing. You're doing what makes you comfortable. You feel good about it. And so somebody is going to give you the opportunity to do that.
Right.
It's another level of illusion. And I'm not here to tell you don't give to charity. Absolutely do.
Mm.
But give to one that you can see, one that you
Right.
know where the money's going or where your time is going or whatever. Don't send it to something it's going to go to 20 different people before it ever gets to a kid. Um, the kids don't know that you're sponsoring them. They don't see any difference. It makes no odds to their day whatsoever. Makes no odds to the food they get or anything else. That part is unaffected. It doesn't even reach the orphanage a lot of the times. It goes straight to the people who are quote unquote running it.
Mm.
I tell you that for a fact. I've seen it. So
Yeah.
it's time for these illusions to stop and for us to actually accept responsibility for what we're here to do. Don't look away. Don't look for the easy route. What are you going to do? How are you going to stand up and be counted?
Yeah.
Where? Where are you going to stand up and be counted? Are you going to be stand up and be counted? Don't lie to yourself if you're not. It won't last the year.
Yeah. My last week of spell casting has pretty much been about this whole concept of, you know, taking your power, but that power being love, right? So you're not changing the world by storming the castle. You're not changing the kingdom by storming the castle. You're changing the kingdom by making the peasants not dependent on the castle.
Right. By truly, instead of
Right.
giving your money to the castle to dole out to the peasants when they feel like it,
Mm.
you're actually helping directly. And it's more about that, definitely. I don't know why this is coming up quite so strongly for me right now, but it really is. Um, and I think it's just part of the global illusion that we've been under, that this is necessary, this is how we have to help. Ah, that's what's
Mm.
coming clear now. The problem is not that we want to help. We absolutely want to help. Humans are here to help each other,
Mhm.
but not in a way that gives away your agency, your
Right.
control over your part in things, nor in a way that keeps you separate from what you're doing. If you've got a middleman in between, if you're, sending it off in an envelope somewhere and that's it, and what you get is a photo,
Mm.
um, yeah, no, that's too removed. This is the time to get real, to get up close and personal.
Well, yeah, it's trying to figure out how to word this. Not that I'm trying to figure out how to word this. I'm trying to get myself tuned into the flow here. So the metaphor I'm getting is we're building chains, not chains to bind you, but
Links.
chains to connect you. Links, yeah, links in a chain to connect, not to not to hold you back, but to connect you. And so as you do those more personal acts of love, that makes more of a giant web of connection of love, which makes every next task easier because everyone is feeling it. Everyone is
Yes.
paying it forward, if you will.
Yep. That's what I'm getting as well.
Yeah.
It's very much connectedness is required right now. We have moved as a species, like
Mm-hmm.
pick a country, honestly. Even those that don't have that much internet have some.
Mm.
There's places where they can go to get it. And the thing is, the places with a lot of internet access, we have removed ourselves from what we're here to do, which is connect and learn and interact and be present. We're not present now. We are abdicating that
Right.
for screen time,
Yeah.
for, I'm just going to watch this thing and be entertained. And, sure, you can do that a little bit, but it should be a tiny, tiny amount of what you do. And where you're seeking real connection, abdicating it to a third party isn't going to
Right.
work. It wasn't working. It's just that now you're going to see it.
Hmm. Well, in fact, like, so in my coaching practice, I've amassed a bunch of emails or newsletters from, right, people advise you on what to do, what's the next trend. Well, the last email I got was because of AI, the more unedited, the more unpolished your videos are, the better it is for you as a coach, if you're coaching or you're in the
Mm,
wellness field, because then people can actually see like that you're real.
yes. There's a lot of like AI
Mm,
is very useful, yes, but you also have to be smart about how you
mm,
use it and judicious about how you use it. Because if you rely on AI to create your content or
mm,
to create your videos and that kind of thing, then you lose touch again with where you are
mm,
in that. Where are you? Where's your humanity in what you're putting out there? You're giving it up every time you let the AI make that video for you or whatever it is that it's doing.
mm,
So figuring out where it's helpful to to save you time, yes. I would say to save you grunt work, right?
mm,
The structure of something, for example. But the creativity, if you abdicate that, then you're taking yourself out of the equation. And you can
right.
see it, right? Like you can tell, not only from the polished AI videos, but look at oh man, I see it so much. The posts, right? Particularly when somebody talks about, oh, this person did a dramatic thing, and it says, and it silenced the entire newsroom, or it silenced
Mm,
this, it sent shockwaves
yeah,
through that. And the second we get to that, which is usually the second sentence, maybe the third, you know that the rest of it's all AI because that's AI,
right.
right? And it's not true. It's not how things operate. And the more we see that, if we don't question it and recognize it for what it is, which is a false narrative, if you
Right.
don't recognize that, you start to think that that is what's happening. That becomes your new hologram. And it's even further away than we are anyway, right? You're taking yourself out of the equation. Now, where is your lived experience? Where is your understanding of what you're here to do? And here's a big question. Where is your connection to nature? Where is your
Yeah.
connection to the spirit world? Like you just pissed it away with AI, right? Like it's not there. You gave it away. And that's what's happening with the kids that are growing up now with, the iPad as
Mm,
babysitter and the phone as the soothing mechanism. They don't know how to human anymore. Like they're
right.
losing that. The lost connection is like a snowball rolling down the Alps, and it is going to level people in its path.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because that's the one thing I've been noticing in discourse, but like even in like popular entertainment. Someone had made a comment, I'm trying to think of who it was, about this, saying like before, like especially if you think about movies like up until the 80s, even into the 90s, a lot of these people either had been to war, had been out, in life because you couldn't stay at home. You had to go out and do stuff. You had to go out and have adventures. You had to have a life. You couldn't sit and live vicariously through your screen. So you have all these more rich stories and all these more bold stories because these people lived those things, or at least it was within the realm of their, like, I mean, like I grew up with people who went to World War II, you know, like
Right.
hearing their stories and stuff like that. Like, so even though I wasn't necessarily there, but like I still had that rich experience. But now we're getting a generation growing up without that to inform them, even in their periphery. Not that I want people to go to war and have major wars, but that lived experience of extraordinary events
Mhm.
is disappearing.
Well, now you don't know. Now you don't know if it's true or not when you
Right.
see something.
And that.
It's it's online, but there's so much you can't tell. Like, is that Did that really happen? Is that a fact? Is this
Mm,
just, a bot? Is it somebody's You don't even know if you're actually communicating with a human being anymore. Online,
yes.
there's a lot of places where bots jump in. Like I've noticed this. I've only recently gone onto Threads. I am
Mm,
very much a newbie there,
right.
and I haven't posted a thing. Or maybe did I post one thing?
Well, if
Anyway,
you post
I'm
on
not.
Instagram, it gets two threads.
Yeah, mine doesn't for some reason. It's weird. But anyway, I've
Oh, you have to
noticed
tell
that
it to. There's a
it
setting
won't
for
let
that.
it.
But yeah,
It won't let it. But it's a whole other thing. Anyway,
yeah,
the thing I was going for with Threads
yeah,
is I see every now and then a post will come in and it's deliberately provocative.
right.
It's a very similar sentence to the other ones that I've
Mm,
seen, and it's trying to get Democrats going,
right.
to get them upset about stuff. And it's just, yeah, that's such a lame statement. And I keep seeing it. I'm pretty sure it's a bot, that
Yeah,
just every now and then tries to stir people up because whoever's sending the bot information out there benefits from that somehow. And
probably engagements.
it's
I
probably
don't.
engagement or
Yeah.
something. It can also be stirring unrest,
Well, that's what I
right?
think it's more because like I'm starting to get pretty offensive stuff now. Like, and I'm like, like I said, my feed is usually all political, all the whole political spectrum, all the social spectrum, all the whatever name it. I got like variety, But now I'm really starting to get the really, really like offensive AI stuff meant to provoke anger.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Again, both sides. It's like,
So this is something that, you know, consider that. What consider the space we're in, like what's
mhm,
happening here? We're getting removed from connection with other humans. People say things to each other and about each other online. They wouldn't say to your face,
right.
even 20 years ago, they wouldn't have said that to your face. But in the last 2 decades, there's a whole lot of stuff that's going down that people are just, wow, the things that they're putting out there. Again, it's another remove from
Hmm.
humanity. It's another remove from connection. And everything that I can see, the visual I have, is that this seething mass of disconnect in the center,
Yes.
and it's AI, it's church leaders, it's all of these who would intentionally manipulate people are in the center, and those around are all taking steps back and taking steps back from each other.
Mm.
They're getting further and further away, more isolated. And when a person is isolated, it's a lot easier to manipulate them.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to convince them that they are wrong, less than, owe you something, in
Mm.
some way. Obligations, all these kind of things are a lot easier to put onto somebody who feels isolated or who doesn't realize they're isolated, but in fact are.
Yes.
They will accept a lot more crap.
Yeah.
And your connection with the spirit world, with nature, just what it actually is to be alive is in jeopardy. And that's why everything has to burn down this year. That's why everything's got to break, is because we've gone too far away
Mm.
and we're kind of not recognizing it as a species. And that is a
Yeah.
problem.
So that leaves the opening for this. The breaking, in case anyone is wondering, is just simply telling the truth and holding to it.
Yeah.
The systems are very fragile right now. If you say the truth and you hold to it, the system will break.
Every time you hold to it,
Yeah.
every time you stand your ground, which is why you've got to decide what do you stand for and what do you stand against?
Yeah.
And be clear and be visible. There's no time for neutrality is bullshit, right? Let's just get that one cleared up. Neutrality is not true. It's a facade, it's a cop out, it's it's a way of not making a decision. And if you've been quote unquote neutral, this is the year where you won't be. because you're
Mm,
going to have to figure that shit out. But even during the Second World War, you had Switzerland that was
yes.
neutral. Was it though? Because the bank's coffers are full of Nazi gold, and
Well, that was
Nazi
the thing,
gold
right?
is looted.
Right.
So, how neutral was that?
Well, what I was going to say, there's a joke about Switzerland's neutrality. Someone had equated it to, okay, there's a fight and you're neutral, so you decide, I'll hold your wallet so you don't lose it while you're fighting. And then the
Right.
neutral person gives back the wallet to the person who wins and keeps the wallet of the person who lost. Because what are they going to do? They got the shit kicked out of them. They're not in a condition to take the money back.
Uh-huh.
And
And
that's how they categorize Switzerland's neutrality.
that's actually not a joke. That's a
Yeah,
pretty accurate description. Like, yeah, that is what they did. And when you look at someone's neutrality, that is typically they're either treading water, trying not to get into trouble,
right.
or there can be a genuine question there for a time, but eventually you have to make a decision.
Well,
You
what I was going to
cannot,
say, yeah, what I was going to say is neutrality at its most honest is I don't know what to do right now.
right. And that's legit.
So I
That's
need
fair.
time to figure out what I want to do. But that's the best face for neutrality. It's the I don't know what to do at this moment because we all
And
eventually take a side. Yeah,
it's not a place you stay in. That's the
right,
thing. It's not like I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to sit here and not know what to do. I don't know what to do. Therefore, let me figure out how I'm going to decide that. What are my values? What
right.
do I need to bring to this? What questions do I need to ask? If I'm not getting answers, what else do I do? Like it's a process. It's not a stagnant place to be. So neutrality is not something that you can have in 2026. It's not a thing.
Mm.
It's a temporary spot at most where you sit there for a minute or two and decide, okay, how am I going to figure out where I am? Like what are your values? And I mean your real values, not the I value honesty,
Yeah, yeah.
integrity, and commitment. Sure. Yes, you and every company that had that
Mm.
spit out by a chatbot. But really, if you don't know what your values are, and plenty of people don't actually, they would have a hard time pinpointing it. Look at where you spend your time and your money. Those are your values.
Yeah,
So if you spend lots of time and money, um, I don't know, this came up, rescuing puppies, for example,
right.
then that is something you value. That is
Hmm.
something you can say that's a value of yours. What aspect of that figure that out, but that's a value. If you spend a lot of time in a casino and gambling
Mm.
and you do pretty well most of the time and you come out with money, well, that is what you value.
Yeah.
Getting money without earning it. Okay, just call it what it is. That's what you value.
Yes. And that's the thing, right? So I did a spell today, and one of the things I pulled because I pull some oracle cards before I do it to give me the general idea of what it is, what energies to prepare with, right? What the attitude to come in with it. And today I got ego and higher love.
Hmm.
And so the spell ended up being about really checking what really matters to you. What is in your makeup that makes you actually value love in the first place,
What does it mean to you?
right? So, because when you were saying like do like whatever you're actually doing, that's what that's where your morals are. That's where your values are. Like because that's what you're doing. It's like just to throw
Uh-huh.
this in, right? Kids don't go by what you say; they go by what you do because that's what you really
Yes.
believe in. Because that's how they figure out what you really believe in. Because you would be doing what you're saying if that's what you actually believed. Your actions would match your words.
Yeah. And
So,
I tell that to parents all the time.
yeah, oh, yeah, me too. And like kids are going to pick up what you're doing, and they're going to look if they match your words, and if they don't, then they know the words don't mean anything. So,
Mhm.
and the thing is, when you do this, don't judge yourself because it's important, right? It Anything resembling analysis, for the better expression to use in this one, is if there's something you think you're doing that's not right, ask yourself why. Curiosity is the tool to have.
Curiosity is definitely the tool to have. And here's the thing, if you value something, aka that's where you spend your
Mm,
time and money, and you think you're wrong for doing that, then the next question I would offer is is it you that thinks you're wrong for that, or do you
mm,
think somebody else thinks you're wrong for
right,
that? And does it bring you joy? Is it something you're good at? Is it a natural thing for you? It doesn't matter what somebody else thinks, but be clear on what you value. Because when you are clear on what you value, it makes deciding what you stand for and what you stand against a lot easier
right.
because you have clarity. So it's not a question of does somebody else approve of that? That really, really doesn't matter. We're told it does in all kinds of subtle and not so subtle ways.
Hmm.
But no, you cannot control another person's view of you. You are not responsible for how they see you, and you're not responsible for what they tell you you need to be or to be like.
Right.
You'll notice that Danielle and I both focus on what is it real for you? Like, where are you at? Do you
Right.
recognize it? Can you see it? Own it. Get that responsibility. Like, this is all about you stepping into what actually is your power and not abdicating it because somebody else said so.
Right. Because you can't, you're again, right? As I say, your subconscious self, tie that to whatever you want and meaning you want to put into it. But that, again, commands your resources. It's the one that divvies up your resources. And the less honest you are with yourself and the less true you are, the more the mixed signals you're sending to that mechanism. And so you'll never have access
Absolutely.
to your full power or your full whatever. And that's health, whatever you resource you want to take into account. The less honest you are about yourself, the less resources are given to you. But the more
Right.
honest
Well,
you
you
are,
can't use them.
right? So the more resources you get, and some you can't use because you're stopping yourself. Like you're making decision to stop yourself from using it because you have some idea of no, it shouldn't be used. But it's like I had a friend and he had a really bad temper. And when we go out drinking, sometimes he would get like he was easy to egg on, right? So people would egg him on, and he was telling me one time, he says, like I really hate this. He says, I wish I wasn't so angry. And I said, well, let's look at this for a second. I said, do you understand what anger is for? Anger helps you act when you're hesitant or you don't understand, or when people are trying to persuade you from not doing an action you've decided you need to do. Anger lets you put all that aside and take action. I said, so your anger is not your issue. It's what you're allowing your anger to do, or uh, it's how you're allowing other people to control your anger. That's the issue. Your anger is fine. Your anger is a tool that you can use to accomplish things. It's what you're letting other people do to you to invoke that anger is your problem. I didn't word it
You know?
exactly that way. I had another wording for it at the time, but
But you're bang on. That's exactly right. Because when you don't use your own anger for the actions that you want to take, that you feel necessary to take, if you don't use that power, somebody else will.
right.
And that's not going to end well because they do not, I don't care who they are, they do not, cannot have your best interests at heart. They cannot because they don't know what they are. You might not know yourself. So it's just simply they can only use it for their own ends. So if you have a lot of stress is fuel for life, right? So if you have a lot of stress, what are you doing with it? How are you managing that? Like we tend to have a default of, oh, I've got to let all the stress go and just,
Right.
I'm going to be zen and I'm going to be this, and the hell you are, because if you're stressed, it means that that fuel for action is getting blocked up. You can't ignore it away
Right.
or tell it to go or say a mantra and it magically disappears. No, that's not how that works. It's sitting there for a reason. It's bottled up
Mm-hmm.
because you haven't used it. So, what are you going to do? How are you going to use that fuel? Anger is even more potent because now you have got added energy, you have got fire, you have got a lot of things with that anger if you use it. But just like stress, if you don't use
Hmm.
it, then there's a couple of things that can happen. And usually they both do. One is the stuff that's repressed and bottled up causes all kinds of health problems, psychological
Right.
issues, where you self-limit, you self-sabotage, you do all kinds of stuff that is wildly unnecessary, but it happens because you have this blocked up fuel. And the other thing that happens is, as you said, other people will use it. They
Hmm.
see it, and it's like you're giving them an open door and saying,
Right.
"Hey, I got all this anger and stress to use. Do you want to use it? Because I'm not." And they'll come in and
Right.
play with it, and you're going to be on the receiving end, and it won't be what you were hoping for.
Because you know what? That's the thing, right? And that's key. And I kind of want to delve into something here because you want to use it. Like, this was the thing with my friend. He enjoyed his anger, whether he wanted to admit it or not. Because when he was coaxed into doing things that got him in trouble, there was a certain joy you could see in him. He wanted to use that anger. So he needed other people's permission to use it. So if people goaded him into something, a part of him wanted to do it. So it's like, so, and part of the problem is if you clamp down on something you actually want to do, because it's actually one of your strengths and you're viewing it as a weakness, you're going to look for any excuse to use that strength, even if not consciously. Something's always going to egg at you to release it, and it'll be released in a negative fashion.
Well, you have to. You can't not
Right.
put it somewhere. It's got to go somewhere. So the question is, who's going to be in charge of that?
Right.
You or some pastor
Mm.
or, some priest or, the person who claims to be your friend but then gets you into trouble and laughs when you're in trouble. You know,
Yeah.
what are you surrounding yourself with in your environment? Is that helping you with your honesty, with your self-honesty? Is that helping you to actually look at your decisions and be honest about them? Because you know what? You can have been cocking it up
Mm.
from day one on this planet until right now. And if you start making different decisions from a better place, none of that was wasted,
Right.
right? I'm not here to say it's okay, you'll go to heaven after all. Come on, people, really, seriously. No, that's not how it works. We're not doing the heaven thing, okay? Nobody's going and sitting on clouds. That's not how that works. But you know,
And it's not canon
Like,
anyways, so.
right. And nor are you going to the center of the earth
Mm.
to, boil in brimstone for however long. Good God. These are things people believe.
Mm.
And they say that witchcraft's hokey.
Yeah.
That's the funniest thing is as that comes up right now, actually, let me change direction on that one. Think about that for a moment. Those who say witchcraft they'll either say it's evil or it's nonsense, it's myths, it's untrue. Why are they saying that when they would tell you at the same time that you're going to go sit on a cloud and play a
Mm.
harp or, be stuck in the center of the earth for all eternity? Like, really? So they like their story better than yours. It's if you look at it, it's kind of weird, isn't it? Hey, we want you to substitute nature for this. Are you
Hmm.
ready for a story? And then they give you something utterly bizarre to consider.
Right.
So you're supposed to believe that you were born in sin and that somebody was killed by his father in order to clean you of your sins, which you
Mm.
weren't born yet for a few thousand years. And now you're supposed to suffer or, deal with whatever comes your way because that's a good thing. Can anybody
Yeah.
else hear that there's a problem with this? Just a little bit? Is that not utterly bizarre? That's like the ultimate level of gaslighting.
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
religions do is they gaslight the hell out of you.
right. I'm going to say this again. I said this on the podcast before. I quit religion not because I didn't believe. I quit in religion because I believed, and I believed it was really stupid. Like that kind of concept of, hold on a second. So you're the all-knowing, and you created imperfection, and then now you're punishing your creation that you created to be imperfect for being
Right.
imperfect. Like what the hell? So
Yes.
basically,
And
what you do is
then
you created something just to pick on.
And then when you point that out, those who would like to keep you stuck will say, well, it's to prove your faith.
Mm,
Oh, good grief. That is something a 3-year-old would say,
right.
maybe. And if you were a decent parent, you'd get that one out of their head fairly quickly, right? Like, what kind of immature being are we talking about that requires constant proving? Like it doesn't make sense on any level. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, religion, if you're still in one and you're actually listening to us and you haven't stomped off yet, um, really look take a step back, not as a disconnect, but so that you can be objective and have a
Mm,
look at what are they saying to you? What are they telling you? How much requires belief in something you're never ever going to get to witness? Like, how much do you have to trust that this person is telling you the
mm,
truth? How much is blind trust? Would you not prefer to give yourself that trust? It's
right.
far more earned.
Hmm. Well, it's been said before in this podcast, but the only faith you need is faith in yourself. Faith in
Yep.
yourself will fix, I say fix, will regulate the rest. But you have to start with
Yeah,
faith
it'll
in
give you.
yourself, not with faith with something outside you. Faith in yourself.
Mhm.
Or at least that's your goal.
Well, anything outside of you
Yeah.
isn't yours.
Right.
So why would you put faith in something outside of you? And so many people that I have come across that
Mm,
are, should we say, the most religious, have typically become so because of traumatic event in their
right.
lives that they required support with. And churches, of course, are really good at saying, oh no, you had that happen to you? Come here, we'll
Mm,
look after you. And they will
right.
for a price. The price is kind of well, I'm going to say the word that came to me. The price is your soul.
Yeah.
That's what they'll look after you for
Well,
that, sure.
I can give a real life example. Obviously, won't share names, but the person, even if I did, the person's not that won't listen to the podcast anyways. But their spouse died a few years ago, and so they ended up going into, seeking comfort in the church, right? Well, like I had a discussion with him not too long ago, and it was like, wow, you are like heavily indoctrinated. But I'll give you this, okay? You know what he does on the weekends in the church? Prayers for healing for people is one thing. So they get together and the priest leads them, or the pastor, so I think he's Baptist, anyways,
Probably.
leads them right in prayer for healing for people. But there's a lot of so right away, right, spellcraft, right,
Mhm.
right there, starting off. But if you approach the idea of magic and stuff like that, it's not happening. Like even to the point of, well, all the denominations, right, that split off, right, in Christianity, right, they're the only ones who really know. Everyone else is full of shit because he had nothing nice to say about Catholics and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, like whatever, half your relatives are Catholic, but whatever, you know, whatever. But anyways, like in the role of women and all this stuff, and I'm like, but worse. But to me, even the bigger sin, he's a fantastic musician, and they had him thinking his music was evil. It was never something. It should only be done for the church. Now they have kind of have him singing for the church, but at first it was like no music, nothing like that, and it was like, oh my god, can't you like? It's screaming at you. You are
Mhm.
a musician, a performer at heart, and they're telling you that's bad.
Mhm.
Yet you're still going in there, and now you're doing what they tell you to do instead of you following your own gifts that you could be using to uplift people. You know,
Yeah,
and it's like wow, like you're not seeing it at all, at all. I didn't say anything
correct.
to him. I just
Because
let him tell his story because I was curious as to why he was so into it. Like I knew his wife had died and stuff, but I was like just sit there listening. Oh, that's why. Oh, that's what you're doing. I'm like,
but
let
when
me show you
you
an alternative here.
but
Sorry.
when you buy into something so wholeheartedly, then they can tell you the most bizarre and damaging things, and you'll buy it because you've bought everything else. So why not? How can you dispute that? It calls everything you've believed into question.
Right.
So it's difficult for the individual to say, well, I believe all this, but what you just said was nonsense, you know?
Right.
Like, no, they're going to go with that as well, because if that person is now lying to you, then you must question everything else they've told you.
Right.
Because at what point did the lies begin? And so the brain just says, you know what, that's an awful lot to deal with. Let's just go with, we'll believe that too.
Mm.
And it can get more and more ridiculous. And that's how you end up with things like Jonestown, is
Yeah.
people will believe the stuff they're told up to potentially a fatal point. And the thing is, even if at the last moment you figure it out, it's probably too late, because there are minions who will make sure that you follow through, right? Which
Right.
is again what happened at Jonestown.
Yeah.
Not everybody voluntarily drank the Kool-Aid. Um,
Yeah,
but
there's definitely that.
but they hadn't figured it out early enough to get out of there,
Mm.
right? At some point, they believed everything the guy said, regardless of what their eyes witnessed, regardless of what they saw. They still went with it. And that is the power of belief when somebody else is pulling the strings. Fascinating stuff, absolutely fascinating. But when it comes to working with spirits, with doing your
Mm.
witchcraft, with working with nature, however it speaks to you to do it, your spells, which just think, if you're a religious person, it's your prayers. It's the same thing. But your spells, your intent, your focus, your rituals, all those things, like how much more powerful are they if you're in control of them and your intent is the one that's important, not theirs?
Yeah.
Right? So they're harnessing your power for their use when you're in a religion. Whereas with working your craft, however that looks, now you're in control,
Right.
and you've been told that you're not able. You've been told you're not powerful enough, or you don't have ooh, the validity to control your own power. Oh
Right.
my God. We have been sold so much crap for
Well,
so
that's the thing,
long.
right?
It's
After
mind
that
blowing.
conversation, as I'm listening, right, because the topic, it's heaven and hell comes up and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? All I can hear in my head right now is there's no hate like Christian love, because that's all I'm hearing right now.
Yep. Yep. And we witness that in the US
Yeah.
every day. Some of the most vitriolic,
Mm.
nasty, nasty people will first tell you they love Jesus.
Mm.
And they love Jesus, but they would also have him in handcuffs, carted off,
Yeah.
and treated really, really badly in a detention center somewhere. So we live in very interesting times. And the fact that some people can hold those views and state them all at the same time, to me, is I'm just waiting for it to go up in flames. I'm waiting
Yeah.
for it to appear to them what they're saying, what they're doing. Like, are you going to
Yeah.
see this at some point? I called somebody out the other day on their extreme nastiness. Um, Definitely, we have different political views.
Right.
This guy's response to me was to basically suggest to me that he had some genitalia that he'd like to put in my mouth. And I'm like, fucking MAGA, man. They go
Yeah.
straight to the pants, like every
Yeah.
time. And just what was that for an argument? What was that for a comeback on me pointing out the difficulties with their stance, right?
Mm.
Like, how was that a valid response? When did that kind of response become acceptable? Why would somebody think that's something to put out there? Like, I read it and I just thought, I'm not even going to respond to that. It's so banal and
Right.
and so predictable that, oh, I don't have a real argument, I'm going to go straight to my pants, was
Well,
just wow.
because you bring up an opening. This is why going forward, power is love. Because, and I see this no matter where you sit politically, like wherever your values are, I see this in all domains, like in all places. And it's the idea that, again, the poorly abused masculine is like being poorly abused over and over again, as in it's the aggression that solves it. It's like, no, it's the aggression that's bringing you down right now. Because I see it in all things. It's like you're not going to fix the problem by threatening to kill someone or threatening to beat them up or threatening to do whatever harm to them that you want to do to them. And I see it everywhere, even people claiming to be of good conscience. And I'm not even talking like MAGA. I'm talking like even to people on the other side of the aisle going, no, well, we're like trying to out tough the other side. And it's like you're both missing it. And one side is claiming to be better than that, and they're not, they're
Mhm.
just
Which is why it's all got to burn down because none of the sides right now are what they would like to be, what they
right.
claim to be. It got lost. It got lost a long time ago. And when we're seeing it now, this is, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm a card carrying Democrat. I am
Right.
not. And I'm certainly not MAGA. That's
Mm,
that's that's a question of humanity rather than politics. So no, I'm
mm,
absolutely not that either. But I don't think any of them are who they claim to be or honest or for the good of people, etc., etc. Like all of that stuff, it's stories, it's fabrication, it's not true. And none of them are. What we need is the new system, whatever that looks like. And I
right.
can't claim to know what that is. I haven't seen it yet, but it's not what we have.
Mm,
That much is clear. It cannot be what we have because that isn't working.
right.
So something else is going to come in, but it's all burning down in a very, very ugly way in the meantime.
Yeah.
It's not pretty.
Actually, this comes
And
back to useful idiots. Yeah.
I
Go ahead.
think we have to I think we have to experience that too. You know,
Well, you do, right?
the
Uh, did I mention this last week? Someone had offered the idea of if you're trying to bring the world into a higher, better understanding, well, you don't do it by sitting out of it, and making yourself. I use this wording. You don't do it by meditating yourself out of life, and sitting outside of life in your like, home sitting position. No, you have to experience it because that's what prompts you into the growth.
yes. So for the people who are feeling the pain and the empathy
Mm,
and feeling very connected to all the things that are going on, that's not easy.
no,
That's not fun. That's very hard. It's exhausting. It's draining. It's a whole lot of things. And it's absolutely necessary because if you're not in it, then you are not part of the new build. You
right.
cannot be because you haven't gone through the process. So the tree that survives the forest fire, its seeds or the seeds around
Mm,
it are not going to be the ones that germinate now because the tree is still there. It hasn't changed. It hasn't undergone the shift, the trauma, the whatever you want to call it,
mm,
it hasn't undergone the transmutation from where it was to where it needs to be.
right.
And so it will stay the same and everything else around changes. So
Mm,
it's yes, we want to be part of the new build. At least I do.
mm,
Yeah, I'm here for that. But that does mean that you can't just focus on that. You have to focus on now because now is what we have.
yes.
And that is something that's coming at some point. Are you still going to be on the planet for that? Who knows? We don't know. How long does anybody have? Who knows?
Right.
You didn't arrive with a timer, so we can't tell when that thing goes off. But you know what you've got now, which is now. So you got to be in it. You
Right.
can't be above it or to the side of it.
Right. Yeah, the question is not to avoid it. The question is to be part of it so that you grow. To use a motivational poster, you can't find new lands if you never lose sight of the shore.
Exactly. And so that means clarity, honesty
Mm,
with yourself, being clear on, what is important to you? What do you value? What's meaningful to you? And then discard the rest
mm,
and use that as your compass.
right. Yeah, your faith in yourself is what carries you through. You have to do the destruction to rebuild to be to where you need to go. You can't stay the same and expect to go to the next thing. You have to be
And
adapted to the new thing.
something just came through as being important, and that
Right.
is you also don't get to judge what the destruction looks like.
Right.
So I would like to put this out there very, very clearly. I'm not saying we need to destroy things, go out and destroy things.
Right.
I don't want that responsibility. That's
Mm,
not mine. No, thank you.
right.
Um, it's happening and you're in it, or you're trying not to be in it. That's the distinction. It's not that you get to determine this is how events are going to go. Because now you're getting into some problems with that. So it's just a question of which stream are you going to wade in? That's really the decision here. Not are you going to direct the flow?
Right. Yeah. All right. There's something. So the pause is important. And it's not just because Michaela's coughing. But yeah. So one, love is your power, but you have to live the one of the big things that's going to make why love is your power is because that's going to be your guideline to moving to the next thing. Like you can't use this wording. You can't tenderize your heart. You can't make your heart tender to things if you don't see the pain. Because you have no idea what the pain is and you have no idea what you're trying to be tender towards because you don't have no idea what it is. You have no experience of it. So you have to see, for those of you, as Makada had said, if you're really feeling it right now, well, you have to, because you have to, that's going to inform your empathy. That's going to be inform your next steps. So that when this new world comes, or this new build comes in, you have to understand why it's important to keep this new build. If you didn't suffer through anything going to that new build, you have no, I'll use the word incentive to maintain that build because you had no idea what it cost to make it. Usually, when you know what it costs to make something, you take care of that thing. When you don't know what it
It's,
costs to get it, then you don't maintain it usually.
there's a number of sort of illustrations I can think
Mm-hmm.
of, like immediately that come to mind. One is if you only ever have daylight, how do you appreciate the night?
Right.
If you only ever have night, then what is daylight? If you have never known distress, then how can you possibly relate to somebody that does? Like
Mm,
you can't do that. It's you can only really connect to what you're here to experience. And that's okay. You don't have to experience every single thing on the planet. Men don't experience having babies. And, I can absolutely guarantee that there isn't a snowflake's chance in Hades that a guy is ever going to understand the process of birth.
mm,
Well, of course not. How can you? A woman who hasn't had a kid isn't going to understand it
mm,
either. It's just, it's an experience that you have to get it.
right.
When I was doing fitness training, one of my claims to fame within that arena was that I'd had shoulder surgery, that I've had, you know, muscle imbalances and health issues and stuff. So that when somebody comes to me and they say, "Oh, my hip hurts," or "Oh, I've got a problem with X," they will trust me over a 20-year-old trainer that's never had a problem because they know I get it. I've been there, done that, and had the surgery, right? So I understand what they're going through, what they're trying to avoid, all those things. And they can trust that. Whereas a 20-year-old might have the concept intellectually, but they don't have the experience. So when that person says, "Oh, that feels a bit tight," or "Oh, that doesn't feel great. I don't have that range of motion," whatever it is, the 20-year-old is not going to comprehend what they're really telling them. They're not
Hmm.
going to get that, okay, we've got some scar tissue here and you're pushing too far. Let's pull it back a little, we'll modify. They're not going to get that. And that's no shade to that person.
Right.
They'll get it in time, unfortunately, but
Mm.
the way they'll get it is by experiencing it.
Right.
And unless you have, you don't get it. So that's a sort of everyday example for the bigger picture right now. If you're not in it and you're not seeing it and you're not witnessing it, then you're not going to get the next stage either. Or grief. When someone dies, some people stay in grief forever. Like they
Right.
don't process it fully. They don't get through it. They stay there. Well, that typically doesn't end up very well for that person because their growth stopped. They stay stuck. Other people might do their very best to avoid it altogether. They don't want to feel those feelings because it's
Right.
hard. Well, they too will come up with their problems, probably show up in health issues and stuff
Right.
because you're experiencing it, whether you choose to or not. You may be just stuffing it down. And then there's the people who go through the process and come out the other side. It doesn't go away, it changes. And that change is something that you can grow from. So, all
Right.
of those examples to say you're either in it or you're not getting it.
Right.
That's the TLDR.
Yeah. Just to help people with this, it's not that have to know exactly what that particular person is going through, but you have to have the foundation of knowing that things can go wrong. And then there's a certain amount of suffering that comes with that. And as long as you hold space for that, you can be of use to that person, at least start being of use to that person, rather than just going, well, you know what, I've never had anything bad, so you don't know what you're talking about to the person having the problem and still trying to push them through how you would normally do it.
Which is often what happens,
Right.
right? Because the person who hasn't experienced the situation, doesn't have the map. They don't know what the
Right.
terrain is like. And so, sometimes they can make a lucky guess and,
Hmm.
but it's just, I'm not saying you have to experience everything in order to be helpful to that
Right.
person. So I didn't intend to come across that way if I did. So excuse that, listener, if that's how I
Mm.
came across. But it's more when you've experienced something, you have a connection to it.
Yes.
And to avoid that connection, to avoid having that connection, is to rob yourself of a rich experience that will help you moving forward. And we're here to learn. This is school. This planet is a school. You came to learn the lessons that you chose for this stage. And if you're avoiding them, well, there's a school of thought that says you're going to have to do it all again.
Right.
And that could be accurate. It could be that situations will keep occurring until you do get it.
Yeah.
That's behavioral loops, for example. They occur on repeat until you get it. And that's a
Yeah.
fact. That is scientific, absolute, you can
Mm.
see it in action fact.
Right. I was going to offer something too along with this. Like, I've mentioned it before. Empathy isn't just feeling bad for someone, or having a similar experience isn't just feeling bad for someone. It's
No,
also
that's
you
sympathy.
also have a roadmap. Like I did before I had any clue that I used to have panic attacks or that's what it was. I watch people have panic attacks and I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? Without ever being really thinking about like I go through this and and I have solutions for it for myself, right? And so I used to be like, I didn't know what to do for that person. But then as I was sitting there one day and like I'm really listening and listening to a bunch of people talk about it, I'm like, oh, I have that. I go, this is how I deal with it. And so instead of just going, oh my, like instead of myself just panicking for that person, now it's like, oh, okay, I have an idea of where destruction, what it's like and where limits can be and where you can take action to
Mhm.
do stuff instead of just going, oh, well, I don't really know what to do. So I'll just sit here with you. But now I can actually like actively help because now I realize, oh, wait, shit, I have that. well, this is how I handle it. This is the things I've seen that have succeeded for me. So I can actually give something constructive to work with instead of like, okay, that train of thought stopped. So again, what I'm getting at, as I've said this before, empathy is not just a, oh, I feel bad for you. It's also a tool that you can use to diagnose a situation or to help you make decisions in a situation because you're taking into consideration what's happening.
So, point of language,
Yeah.
semantics here,
Right.
but
Oh, go ahead.
sympathy,
Yeah.
sympathy is when you feel bad for the person,
Right.
but you don't feel connected to what they're
Right.
experiencing. That is
Yeah.
sympathy. And empathy is when you feel with them.
Right.
That's the difference. And empathy is something that some people are afraid of
Mm.
because it means you're going to feel things
Right.
and you might not want to feel them. And if you're in a constant state of overwhelm because your life is lived through a screen, then it's hard to access empathy because it demands of you
It does.
and you're not used to being there for that. So this is one of the issues we have is people cutting themselves off from their network, from the
Hmm.
network, from others in the planet. That's where you lose your empathy because you're not connected. And
Right.
empathy must be connected to be empathy. Sympathy is just, the NRA say it every time there's a school shooting.
Mm.
Thoughts and prayers.
Yes. Yes.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Interesting that when the ICU nurse was killed,
Mm.
executed, in fact, and was carrying a legally approved
Yeah.
weapon, NRA didn't say a thing. That,
Well, not just the
that,
NRA, it's all the advocates for it.
oh,
This
but
actually
they are
brings me up on some.
usually
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
usually really fast and really vocal. And it is fascinating to me that they said nothing. That speaks volumes. That is another illusion
Right.
that these people, they say that they stand for the Second Amendment, they say that we all have rights to have guns, etc., etc. And then the second somebody is executed for having that right, they say nothing. What does that tell you?
Well, I've heard, actually, I'll say this. I've heard a couple of things of what NRA's opinion was on the matter. I'm not clear on what it is because I've heard different reactions from people talking about it. So I don't know if they didn't react or not. But what I have seen as a general reaction to the people who normally tell you to carry firearms in case the government gets tyrannical,
Uh-huh.
and until I hear differently, so I'm not going to say every last one because I haven't heard every last person, but all the louder voices are all saying comply, comply,
Yes.
comply.
Yes.
Even the
That
ones,
is exactly what they are saying.
right?
Yes.
Even the ones I've discussed on here who were saying, well, my family fought fascism, they're also saying comply.
Which is fascinating, isn't
Yeah.
it? Because the whole tread don't tread on me flags, etc., etc. And now they're screaming comply
Yeah.
with a masked person who doesn't identify themselves. You're
Right.
supposed to comply with whom exactly?
Yeah. Well,
And
that's,
they
yeah.
have 10 minutes of training. But the thing there, the bigger point that I want to bring forward
Mm.
is look at the whole illusion around
Mhm.
NRA and what they stood for and the people who support them and all the Second Amendment right people. They were all lying to themselves as well as
Mhm.
to everybody else. What they said they stood for, they
Yeah.
ran so fast away from the actual confrontation. They can only yell, or at least this is my
Mm.
experience of them. They only make noise when more vulnerable people than them challenge.
Right.
But as soon as there's some kind of authority, even if it's illegal, they cave. So, are these people truly sticking to their values? Do they know what their values really are? Or have they been lying to themselves?
Well, it's not that they've been lying to themselves, it's that they've been lying to others because, and I said this on the podcast before, and I may have said this in discussion with you, but when we talk about like, when you get the folklore of how a species is or how a group comes to be, like
Mhm.
the origin of humanity or whatever, what kind of quickly ties into it is, well, that's how my people started. And you're not really human, so you were made by something else, something lesser. Because humans, real people, were made by this. And
Mm.
what's happening, or what I'm seeing when I see the news, is that everyone who was pushing for the Second Amendment, those are for only real people. The others aren't real people, so they don't have the Second Amendment rights. Or I'll put it as it is said, they're not real Americans, so they don't deserve Second Amendment rights.
But this guy, of course, was Caucasian and very definitely
Yeah, he still wasn't a
American.
real American because he didn't agree with.
Right. So you see how that narrative
Yeah,
twisted and changed in order to stay comfortable for the people who are spouting it. It
yeah,
makes no sense whatsoever. It is nonsense. It is an illusion to themselves, and they think other people are buying that too, because that's what happens when you're shrouded in illusion, is you tend to think everybody else sees it the same way.
yeah,
But they don't. So it's another example right now of illusions that are being highlighted, visible,
yeah.
being brought to the fore. So you can't ignore them unless you're really trying hard. But
Well, that's the thing.
you can't really truly on a soul level ignore what's right in front of you. You can
Mm,
try, but your soul knows differently. Your spirit knows differently. So, this is what's happening. This is where illusions are being broken down,
right,
and you can either cling to it or accept that what you thought was true isn't.
right. And it's interesting. The reason, again, to bring it back to why you have to have faith in yourself is because if to use the example of the United States, okay, so you have the Republicans doing their thing. What are the Democrats doing? Not funding ICE, not voting against funding ICE, not closing down until there's a compromise reached. They're giving in,
Exactly. So are they better?
right? So the people who you might be looking for to solve the problem, they're
Aren't there?
complicit with the problem.
They are not there. And that is the larger point. We have been buying into this external power source, this external place to get things resolved, whether it's religion, politics, whatever it is. We're told to
Right.
trust this bigger thing, trust them. They know better than you do. Well, surely, surely, dear listener, if you're still listening to us at
Mm,
this point, you have got to see this for yourself.
right.
You've got to be able to see that that is not true. The person that you can rely on, the person you have faith in, the person you need to know best is yourself.
Hmm.
And get your connection with nature going while you still can.
Yes. That's
And
the
I just got a mic drop thing happening there. So
Yeah. Well, that's the basically it, right? Reconnect to what's true. And it's not
yeah,
about, yeah. And when we say rely on yourself, right, it's not about being selfish and ignoring other people. It's about just really getting to know who you are so that you can be who you are. And if you are that person who is giving and outgoing, giver. We're not telling you to disappear into a hole because, and not deal with anyone because that's not what, having faith in yourself means. It just means being true to who you are. All the other stuff still exists.
connection.
Still you going out and talking to people and organizing communities and all that kind of thing. That's all still part of you. That's all still the thing. It's just trust in yourself when you do it.
Connection is a big part of what we need
Uh-huh.
because it's been taken from us and we've been complicit in that. We've gone along with it. But connection, real, true connection, that where you have the highs, the
Mm,
lows, the but ugly and the pretty face and all the rest of it,
right,
that the whole thing, the connection experience is what we have to have now.
right.
We went away from it and we got to come back and get real. And a big part of that is your connection to nature. How are you going to work with it?
Hmm.
Is the listener aware? Okay, this is being recorded on February 1st, but
Right,
are you aware that it's the full moon in Leo?
right.
Are you aware that we have the year of the fire horse, as I mentioned at the beginning of the
Mm.
episode? Do you know what these mean? Do you know what's happening in nature? Could you describe what happens when there's a full moon versus a dark moon? Did you know there's a dark moon? You know, like there's a lot of questions that you can ask yourself to check how connected are you?
Yeah.
How aware are you? You don't have to pass a test, but can you have a conversation about it? Like,
Right.
do you know do you know the seasons as far as certain plants go? Do you know when to plant lettuce? Do you know
Right.
if you can plant lettuce where you live? Right? Like, pick a thing. Can you grow herbs? Would you recognize one if you saw it? If you can't, okay, welcome to modern society. Now go get a
Right.
book, ideally one that was written before 2020, because after that it could be AI. Go
Right.
get yourself a book on herbs, look it up, and find out. What does fresh basil look like? Or basil, as some people say. I
Mhm.
can't quite wrap my head around that one. What does thyme look like? What would you use it for? Oregano, did you know it's a really potent antiviral? Do you know what you've got? Nature has so much. Witches were getting into trouble hundreds of years ago because they could heal people where churches couldn't, because they knew what herbs did and they knew how to use them and they
Actually, you know what?
used them.
I'm gonna. I have a book, not quite an arm's length, but keep talking. I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna want it for the listeners. Book to be recommended.
Okay, so what I'm looking at here for you is check your connection. Like, how much are you aware of when it comes to growing your own fruit and vegetables? Can you grow herbs? If you can't, now is a brilliant time to learn and to start because the food chain is in danger in many, many places. Can you grow your own? That'd be
Right.
really good to do. Oh,
So
show me that cover. I have that one.
yeah, that's
I
the.
have it. I have
It's not
exactly
showing
this
because
book.
right.
Please
This
tell
book.
the listener.
Right. So it's Medical Herbalism: The Science and Practice of Herbal Medicine by David Hoffman. Every
Yes.
herbalist I've ever spoken to, this book they swear by.
Yes, I have that one.
This is actually Tammy's book, but she never asked for it
Okay.
back, so I'm keeping it for until she says differently or remembers she loaned it to me. But so this book, right, is like this. Herbalists swear by this book. So once again, I'll put the name in the
Yep.
notes for the show. But the medical herbalism: the science and practice of herbal medicine by David Hoffman is like, yeah, Michaela has a copy too. She's got soft
I
cover,
just
whereas
went
I got a hardcover. But is that a hardcover?
hard.
Yeah,
Hardcover.
yeah. This book, herbalists swear by it, and it's a fairly substantial book. It's not tiny.
No, it's a solid tome of fabulous information, and it tells you what's safe, what isn't, how much, what does it
Mm,
look like, what not to mix with. So, for example, if you take St. John's wort, and that's useful for depression, you must
right,
not be on SSRIs at the same time because it will cause problems for you. All of these things affect the brain, and you can end up with suicidal thoughts, for example, if you're
right,
taking St. John's wort. So you need to know if you're going to start using herbs, you need to know what you're playing with.
right,
But I urge you in this day and age, if you're working magic, even if you just want to look after yourself better, learn about your herbs, learn about the food that you can grow.
mm,
Even if you're in an apartment, you can grow stuff in your kitchen. You can do sprouting. You can grow some herbs. Now is the time. Learn what they are and what you can do with them.
right. Yeah, actually, I have a few recipe books as well, and other books on sports medicine with herbals and stuff like that. But yeah, so the idea is to really get to know your reality. It's going to be important going
Mhm.
forward.
It is, and relying on chemical facsimiles of things is a metaphor, I think, for how we've become as a society. We will trust chemicals over truth,
Right,
over fact. The bark of the white willow tree is where aspirin came from in the first place. So you'd have a tea made from
right,
the bark of the willow tree, and that would cure your headache. You wouldn't rely on it every single time you had a twinge, but you knew what to do if you needed it,
right,
and you would know how to make this. So chemical stuff that's created in a lab misses a lot of phytonutrients and a
Mm,
lot of other aspects that are present in nature. Chemicals can't replace that. And nowadays, as they try to make them cheaper and cheaper with cheaper
mm,
ingredients, now you're getting to the stuff that, frankly, is a little bit skeptical. It's
mm,
like it's not even quite what it started out being in the lab. So
right,
the more you learn about the herbs, the more you can regulate yourself. And the other thing with herbal medicine to know is that you don't take anything on a continual basis. So if you're
right,
having echinacea because you've got a cold, you just have it for a couple of days, 2, 3 days. It's tops. It's not something you go on for weeks and weeks and weeks.
right.
Herbs aren't used that way. Modern medicine is,
Well, medicine is not supposed to be used that way either.
but
But
it is.
yes, that's actually, you know what? Even though we had the mic drop, it is an important thing to remember because, and I see this especially as an American thing. Apologies to Americans, but
No,
your
don't
medical
apologize.
system doesn't follow its own advice, its own regulations.
No, there's massive problems here, and the prices are going up and up and up exponentially, and unreasonably so. I mean, insulin over here
Mm,
is rather expensive. Some people can't afford their insulin, and so they
mm,
do what's called splitting, which I
yes,
hadn't heard of till I came to the US. But it's where they will halve their dose, or they don't take it as often as they should, and
right,
some people end up dying early. But insulin doesn't have a patent. It was given for free by the person that discovered
yeah,
it. So there's no cost to the companies that covers R&D or patents
right,
or anything else. They are straight up greedy, gouging from the vulnerable. Where have we heard that before today?
yeah,
It's the thing. If you are perceived as vulnerable, they'll screw you over. Start looking
yeah,
into herbs and
yeah.
learn what you can. I didn't know I was going to be saying that today, but apparently I
Mm,
am, and it's a big thing. Learn your
that's right.
herbs. I'm
Macaulay got
waving
her
my
wand out even.
crystal.
Yeah.
I was going to say I'm waving my crystal wand here with the
Mm,
snake on it, but
right,
it's like no, seriously, this is a thing.
yeah. Let me point out for the listeners that I had no idea, even in vaguely any idea where the episode was going to go. And I certainly wasn't
No,
expecting to be talking about herbalism, but
well, neither was I, but
yeah.
here we are, and I think it's because it's a pathway to connecting with your magic, and
Mm,
it's a pathway to looking after yourself. And as this current order, which really isn't an order, as this current
right,
facade crumbles, you are going to have to rely on yourself more and more and more. So learn this stuff now because you're going to need it.
right.
You're going to want it. Learn it
Yeah.
now.
Oh my God, yeah. We can end the episode here because there's so many places we can go from here. And we'd be here like all day recording. Like, I'm not kidding, man. Like, the places this brings us, like, just separating from the land. Oh, yeah. Actually, it's a very nice wine Michaela has.
Thank you.
Yeah. A slash back scratcher. We could go on to so many places and how much work was done to separate people from the land in the first place, intentionally to
Yes.
make them beholden to companies. But
Yes.
that's other times. Right now, the importance is to focus on power. Right now is love. Love is power. Empathy is the ability not just to sympathize with people, but to also have a plan of action, a direction, a place to go, because you can feel what's going on. So you're in the moment. You're more aware of what's happening. All those things right now.
You're
And
connected.
right, that connection, it's the ability to connect with other people, which is going to be the strength right now, and the
Yep.
ability to connect in a positive way.
And the ability to connect to nature.
Yes. I usually don't make the difference between natural, like nature, and people. When I say people, I could just as well be talking about a plant or a dog
Yes,
or a
but
bug.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure, not sure the listener would do the
Right.
same thing.
Yeah.
So,
Again, that's why there's two of us, because I might not have thought
exactly.
to be very clear on that.
Uh-huh. But this is the time.
Yeah.
Now is the time to do this stuff. That's what I
All right.
got.
Yeah. And so that's another one in the can, as they say, even though we're not recording on film. to put in a can. Anyway, so once again, I'm Daniel Dubois.
I'm Michaela Gaffinstone.
Until next time.
À la prochaine.